Hey, y'all, welcome back. Happy Skews Day to you. It is September 20th, 2022. I'm Trey Crowder, and that's Mark Agee. What's up, Mark?
What's up, Trey? I got a fun show tonight. We're going to be talking about immigration year, election year immigration stunts, specifically about Greg Abbott and mostly Ron DeSantis, but also how time is a flat circle and whether we live in the same thing over and over and over again, going back to the 1930s. But before we get to the show, I wanted to ask you a quick question, Trey. Is the pandemic over? Yes or no?
I don't know. It's been hard for me to tell because there was a period there about 6 weeks ago where it seemed like every person I knew, including my whole family, had COVID at the same time,
Mhm.
including producer Matt. And I was like, in my head, I was like, I feel like I'm not. It seems like there's a massive spike going on, just anecdotally to me at least, but I'm not seeing or hearing anything about that. So maybe we just sort of agreed to just pretend it's over. I don't know. I can't. I
Yeah.
can't really tell what's up with that.
Yeah. The reason I'm asking is because Biden did a 60 Minutes interview on Sunday, and he essentially said that the pandemic's over, and it's not. Like 400 and some people are dying on average per day in America. But the question is, like, can you mobilize society to do anything about it? And I think it's been pretty clear since like the fall of
Oh,
2020.
right.
No.
No, I agree. I mean,
uh,
that's pretty much what I thought. It's like it just seemed like everybody got to a point where collectively they were just like, we're done with that. And like
yeah.
some of us may be done forever when we get it and die, I guess. But
Mhm.
you know what? That's just going to be the way it's going to be because we're just not going to do that anymore, is how
Yeah.
it feels to me. So,
Yeah, I mean the government, I guess the danger in it is it signals to people they can stop getting boosters and stuff, which is not great. But everybody, we see the news, we know there are boosters. I got my fourth one last week. How many of you had it?
your fourth booster or fourth shot?
Oh,
I've had
fourth
three
shot, second
shots.
booster.
I've had three
Yeah, yeah,
shots, and I'm meaning to get the fourth one soon.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. I got it at the same time as my flu shot, which they said increased your risk of bad symptoms. I'm like, I'm not driving to Walgreens twice. I
yeah.
just I just muddle through. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have any answer to that. He also said that the interviewer, I think it was Scott Pelley, asked him questions like basically what he was going to do about grocery prices, which the president doesn't have a lower grocery prices button to push. They can
Hmm.
gas prices underlie everything. They can get energy prices down, but it's also weird. We blame everything on the president. I remember back when Trump was first elected, and they were asking like supporters what they're hoping for, and one guy was like, The Super Bowl is going to be. We need to move the Super Bowl to Saturday or get Monday off as a national holiday." That's kind of common. Say like basically he wanted the president to make it so he gets super drunk on the Super Bowl. It's
Right.
Super Bowl
Yeah.
Sunday, and it was like, why is the president involved in this? It's
Well,
simply
yeah.
the
Well, it's
health
just
schedule.
the president's just supposed to do everything. Like, if you're an American and something is bad, then, well, actually, no, it's not true. It depends on who the president is. Like right
Mm-hmm.
now, if you're a Republican and something's bad, that's the president's fault and he should be fixing it.
Mm-hmm.
But if Trump was the president and something's bad, you just either don't acknowledge it, or also it's the Democrat who came before him's fault. But it's always like the president, no matter what the actual problem is, it comes down to the president. So that's how we
Yeah,
think presidents work, I guess.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like the
All right.
president, sorry, I was going to say like the president can't really. I mean, it's like it's weird how powerless the president ultimately is. Like Obama tried for 8 years to close Guantanamo Bay, couldn't do it. Trump tried to build a wall, couldn't do it. Biden had to like do his own little rebellion against the Department of Defense to end a war in Afghanistan, and they tried to ruin his life over it. So like the president just works here, man.
Right. All right, let's get into it. With us, as always, is producer Matt. This is Weekly Skews. I want to remind you, of course, of two quick orders of business. Number one, if you'd like to see me live, you can go to TreyCrowder.com. I'll be in Northwest Arkansas this weekend, Oklahoma City next week, Raleigh after that. A lot of fun places, adding more dates all the time going into next year. So go to TreyCrowder.com, check it out, come and see me. Number two, if you enjoy this program and would like to show your support, you can do so by signing up on Patreon, $5 a month, get you access to full-length bonus episodes. We're doing them every other week, having a good time with it. So go to weeklyskews.com/more, or just go on Patreon and look me up. Either way works. Get some more skews in your life. Okay, as for the show tonight, as Mark alluded to earlier, we're talking about the hot new strategy taking the GOP by storm, human trafficking. Specifically, last week's sadistic PR stunt in which Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis used desperate families of immigrants as political pawns. We got a lot to say about it a little later, but first, of course, we will begin with the Daily Dumbass. Matt, graphic, please. Tonight's DD. Anyone who ever doubted the Utah hip hop scene. That's right. If you don't believe me, check out this hot new banger of a track.
Hey, Utah District 12, listen up right here. There's a new name on the ballot for the Senate this year. My name is Linda Paulson, Republican and awesome. Love God and family and the Constitution. I tried to get another conservative to run. Nobody could do it, so I'm getting it done. I'm pro-religious freedom, pro-life, pro-police, the right to bear arms and the right to free speech. I want less government control and regulation, want to stop and expose all political corruption where there's integrity, morality, accountability. Government programs should lead to self-sufficiency and support traditional family as the fundamental unit of society. But in schools, they're pushing for new beliefs. And just to clarify this, because there's some who can't define this, as a female adult, I know what a woman is.
Yeah. Bars. I want to clarify something. So correct me if I'm wrong here, Mark. Like, people see the watermark or whatever up there in the top left. It says, Instagram, Utah satire, but this lady is real and this is really her and this is a real thing. Because I don't want people to see that and think that it wasn't, because it is.
Unless running for office itself is some sort of long joke, which I don't know if we have known that. Her name is Linda Paulson, as she says. Linda Paulson, Republican and awesome. Not a bad rhyme, honestly. But she's running for state senate in Utah out of Salt Lake City. She talks in her verse about how she couldn't get anyone else to run, so she's just doing it herself, which is democracy. It's the way you're supposed to do it, right? We're citizens self-governed. But the reason no one else is running is she's running against the Senate Minority Leader by the name of Karen Payne, who won her last election in 2018, 69-31. So good luck tilting at that windmill, Linda. You at least got some viral notoriety out of it, and a record deal, hopefully.
Yeah, this is easy to say, but I genuinely think if I was shown that video without her stating it anywhere in there, and you told me, like, what state do you think this lady is running for office in, I think Utah would have been at least top 3 guesses. I think, like, it's just Utah is the perfect state to have produced that particular piece of media, in my opinion.
See, I think my number 1 draft pick would have been Florida, just because Florida is the center of the MAGA rap scene. They got
yeah, right.
What's it, Roger Stone dancing in Forgiato Blow videos, and there's one other guy down there. By the way, Forgiato Blow, I didn't know this. Where he gets his money. He's the heir to the Auto Trader fortune. I learned that recently. So yeah.
How about
also?
That?
Blow is not a cocaine joke. It's been living on wealth. It's Forgiato, been living on wealth. So all my stereotypes about Florida have been blown up by Forgiato not being into cocaine. So there we go.
You'd think you would have learned by now, Mark, being married to a Floridian as you are, to not stereotype the great state of Florida. Okay.
I mean, she's always on a ton of cocaine though. So
yeah. All right. Our first honorable mention for Daily Dumbass: words that start with C for confounding and confusing. Senator Ron Johnson.
When I was chairman of Homeland Security, we would have an annual threat hearing, and my ranking member would always be bringing up white supremacy, which, I condone. I mean, I condemn.
Oh, those C words get you every time.
Nothing much to say about this except Ron Johnson is absolutely a white supremacist, so fuck him.
Yeah, right. No, it always we show a bunch of those, like, where it's clearly a slip of the tongue, but I never care every time. It's like they still play for me. It's like, yeah, that's why it's funny.
Yeah, it's like
because it's the perfect slip of the tongue for that dude to have in that moment. That's what makes it good.
Yeah, Michael Kinsey, the old political columnist, coined the term Kinsey gaffe, and that's when a politician accidentally says the truth.
Right. Okay.
That always gets him in trouble.
I like that. All right. Our next honorable mention is kids for not knowing just how worthless they are. We'll let Dennis Prager explain right here in detail.
That schoolroom sign that I saw in the New York Times. The world is better because you are in it. I don't know what grade it was. I assume something like 5th grade. What a stupid message. Plus, it's not true. What has any 5th grader done to have made the world better because he or she is in it?
Okay, that's good, man. Yeah, little sorry ass pieces of shit ain't even fucking running industries or nothing like that. It's not. This is the think of the children side here, Mark. Fucking just letting it all hang out. Like, yeah, 5th graders used to work in factories, like real citizens. Okay, whatever happened to that? That's so funny to me.
Yeah, it's like part of these guys have no sense of humor to a degree. Like, this guy takes like what could be a pretty good premise for a stand-up bit, right? And just has no art around it. Just completely just states straightforward that kids suck.
Kids suck, right? Like, you guys ever notice kids are fucking stupid and I don't like them?
Yeah,
It's like we have noticed that.
Remember that old Bill Burr bit where he talked about how Oprah's full of shit and being a mom's not that hard of a job?
Oh yeah, I used to really upset my wife by showing everyone who came to our house that bit when it's on Netflix. I'd be like, "Have you seen this? You guys see this? We got Bishop's like 1 year old and Katie's pregnant again, and I'm just sitting there with her in the room like fucking dying laughing. She was not a fan.
Like, what comedy is you're making a fallacious argument that no one actually believes is true. But there's artistry and humor in it, right?
Yeah.
What this guy's doing is just taking the joke premise and not having any funny in it and saying these piece of shit kids are worthless. And it made me laugh.
Yeah. All right. We got some more honorable mentions coming up, and I just want to let you know we got a sort of a stretch of all-stars here. Daily Dumbass All-Stars coming up, like some usual suspects really taking over the statistics, top of the leaderboards for Daily Dumbass. First up, Mike Lindell. Well, actually, technically, Mike Lindell's bank for not allowing him to move his money around with his brain or something.
By the way, did you tell him also, I know you so well over the last year and a half, you run your entire business off of your phone. Did they care about that?
They didn't care about that. I said, not only did I run 5 businesses up, but I don't use a laptop. I don't use a computer. Everything was on that phone. One of the things, there were files on that phone that you can't get through the cloud that were passwords. Some of them passwords were so I wire money from different accounts back and forth. And I have to look those passwords up in those files. So I can't get to those, Steve. I can't get anything. And then I got media out there going, well, I called Mike on his phone number, and he must have got his phone back. No. I took the number and transferred it from my carrier to another phone, but the phone is blank. It's missing all these.
So this is the most Papal thing ever. So he had his bank password saved on a notes app on his phone, which do not do that. Do not do that. If you like, you don't have to be the most intense infosec person in the world. Do not save your passwords to anything important, much less your millionaire bank account on a note. Every pickpocket in the world is like, I gotta get Mike Lindell's phone.
Right.
It's just so. In case you missed the news, Mike Lindell got surrounded by FBI agents at a Hardee's drive-through or something, and they took his phone. They had a subpoena for his phone. I think it's connected to the investigation into Tina Peters.
Hardee's, I would say, among the most Papal of places to be apprehended by the authorities. Was it breakfast time? Hardee's breakfast time is that's a real Papal type of situation there. So this is all tracking for me.
He did. It was funny because he made a video late last week announcing that the FBI had taken his phone. And everybody was like, all the lawyers and media people were like, I don't believe Mike Lindell. It might just be trying to sound important when someone asked the FBI field office in Minneapolis, and they're like, we did serve a warrant at that particular location, meaning the Hardee's. But also a really funny thing was a bunch of people in the media watched his video and heard Arby's. Because I guess my conclusion was they grew up in Carl's Jr. parts of the country.
Yeah, right.
They're familiar with Hardee's.
Right.
Yeah, Hardee's got a dope breakfast.
They do.
But yeah, so this appears to be connected to the investigation into Tina Peters. who is the Mesa County, Colorado clerk, she lost the GOP nomination for Colorado Secretary of State earlier this year. But she's pleaded not guilty to a felony and misdemeanor charges after being indicted. What she did was, as county clerk, she assumed the election must have been stolen under her nose, even though she's the county clerk in charge of running elections. So she gave access to voting machines to random idiots. And so the state's like, you can't be doing that.
Right.
And so she's in real trouble. And
I'm surprised she lost the nomination, honestly. Usually that pleading not guilty to felony charges is sort of that's a box you got to check to make it to the top of the podium on their side. I feel like that's a feature, not a bug. I mean, need multiple charges against you to be a legitimate candidate. So
you gotta combine the felony charges are part of it, but you gotta also have a fraud element and also a sex pest element. You gotta roll all three together.
Yes, the sex pest part, is huge.
Mm-hmm. But I do want to point out there's it's not just Hardee's that got wrapped up in our fast food wars. This headline's from late last week. An armed Pennsylvania man, a Whig, trying to restore Trump as president, was arrested at a Dairy Queen. So Biden's law enforcement regime is politicizing all of our mediocre cheeseburgers, Trey. And we got to forget the bottom of this. So
I mean, dude, they know. You remember? I don't know if you remember it or not, but Corey got a thing in his a little mailer thing in his mailbox one day from some local Republican group talking about how Joe Biden wanted to take our cheeseburgers away. Because he posted about, I think he talked about it on here even. It was one of the times when he came on the show and he talked about it and showed the thing. But yeah, cheeseburger related chicanery coming from the left, Mark. That's why they got to mobilize at our nation's fast food locations or whatever.
So, this guy, his last name is Stawovi. It's a really cool last name, by the way, Stawovi. So Stawovi was driving erratically and cops went to pull him over. He's wearing a rainbow wig and basically dressed as a rainbow clown, which of course, why wouldn't he be driving erratically dressed like a rainbow clown? So when cops confronted him inside the Dairy Queen, he said he was undercover with the Pennsylvania State Police working on a major drug sting. But he was yelling, while he was saying that, he was cursing the cops out. That's not going to go good. He also said he was talking to God and was a prophet and would, quote, kill all the Democrats because Trump was still president, end quote. He also claimed that he knew the Dairy Queen workers and they would vouch for him. And the manager's like, yeah, he came in the store earlier and put $120 on the counter and said it was a tip for all the non-Democrats. But other than that, we don't know who he is.
Oh. Yeah,
I, for one, would disavow all liberal policies for $120 tip if I worked at
a Dairy Queen. Yeah, I'd be like, I'm totally not a Democrat. I'll take $120. I mean, buddy, dude, if I wouldn't take tips from people that hate Democrats, I would have had a very, very non-productive career at the O'Charlie's in Cookeville, Tennessee when I was working there in college. All right, our next honorable mention is Lauren Boebert. She's the next all-star up for believing that libs are drowning people in Chinese soup or something like that. It's hard to tell exactly, but you'll get it in just a second, I think. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah.
All hell broke loose. Rampant, evil, grabbing and grasping, vicious backstabbing. They made life hell on earth with their envy, wonton killing. I don't know what a wonton killing is. I'm going to have to look that one up. But it sounds interesting, and I don't think I want to be a part of it.
You cut it off, Matt. So, wanton killing. Wanton killing is the Bible verse she's trying to read unsuccessfully. This is sort of a perfect metaphor to me because she's trying to pass herself off as super Christian, but she literally cannot read the Bible. She's too fucking stupid.
Right. Yes. It's also the prideful stupidity is also a running theme of this Daily Dumbass all-star section we got going on here. Because it's also a central theme of our next honorable mention featuring who else? Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker for just being a dumbass, I guess. He's on our list of dumbasses for being a dumbass.
It's not even like you're not even like being.
No, it's not a
He's literally saying I'm a dumbass in the clip.
Yeah, it's. So I'm preparing. I'm this country boy. I'm not that smart. And he's that preacher. He's a smart man. Wear these nice suits. So he's going to show up and embarrass me at the debate October the 14th. And I'm just waiting. I'll show up and I'm going to do my best.
So The preacher and civil rights activist is a snobby elite, and the millionaire
Right.
former pro football player hangs out with Donald Trump, who's just a poor country bumpkin who's
Yeah.
just trying to get ahead. Politicians do this all the time. They try to set expectations before a debate to lower them, so if they sort of do okay, they're presented as the winner, right? Like I saw this earlier today. In 2004, Matthew Dowd, who worked in the Bush White House, said John Kerry was the Cicero of his time before they had a presidential debate. So yeah, it's like, oh, my candidate's so fucking dumb. He doesn't have a shot in this. And if he shows up and doesn't fall over, it's like, yeah, he did great, you know. But this is just reading the stage directions.
Yeah.
It's like, get out there and lower expectations. Herschel is like, I'm fucking stupid.
Yeah. Hope y'all know how dumb I am. All right. And he's real smart too. So
vote for him.
Probably not going to go great, but you know, I'm going to try. I'm going to just try. That's all I can do. All right. Our final honorable mention is U.S. Grant for not turning this whole thing around sooner. This clip features the all-time great of Daily Dumbass, the GOAT himself. Hit it, Matt.
For their beloved country. Ohio is the state that gave us American heroes, icons, and legends with names like Neil Armstrong, Annie Oakley, and the great General and President Ulysses S. Grant. He's really come back a long way over the last 10 years, hasn't he?
What?
This is the state that gave us.
Literally, usually when Trump does some Trump shit, it's like I kind of know what the thing is he's trying to do or say, you know, he's just trumping it up. But like, what? What is that even supposed to try to mean?
I guess the taking down of all the Robert Lee statues is kind of a huge, pretty big victory for U.S. Grant. 100 years too late.
Yeah, but they're opposed to the taking down of those statues, right? Like openly. That's part of their whole thing.
I think this goes in the bucket of things where when Trump just learned something, he goes, "No one knew that." So I guess he didn't know much about U.S. Grant's life, and then as being president during the second cold Civil War, he sort of learned more. And is like, "Oh, my opinion about U.S. Grant went up, so therefore everybody's did."
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was from a Trump rally in Ohio. He had for J.D. Vance, some other people. It was a couple big highlights. Our boy J.R. Majewski spoke there and said, my pronouns are patriot and ass kicker, and said he doesn't get goosebumps, he gets eagle bumps.
Okay.
Trump did his normal 2 hours, way too long. It was a really small crowd, but the people that were there at the end, he did sort of an altar call, like a church thing where he played a song and talked over it. And the song he used was that QAnon anthem, "Where we go one, we go all." And pictures from the rally were floating around. You might have seen what looked like a Nazi salute. They were doing.
I did, yeah. Yep.
It's not quite clear what everyone meant by it, but that hand gesture is both the Groypers, the racist anti-immigrant group. They do that for America First, and the QAnon people do it for "Where we go one, we go all." And so they might have been doing it for different reasons. Or maybe someone just doing it to join the crowd. But anyway, it was a fucking frightening.
Sure.
It was a frightening scene.
Sure, it was at least a little bit that last thing. Yeah, that's just as frightening. The herd mentality of it is freaky, no matter what the motivation was. But yeah, Trump, he was on one. You know, we covered last week that he was actually Queen Elizabeth's best friend, and he took to Twitter, or he took to Truth Social to remind everybody of that. If you got that screen grab, Matt, this is from Trump. It's a picture of Joe Biden in the back at the funeral of Liz, and Trump says, "This is what's happened to America in just 2 short years. No respect. However, a good time for our president to get to know the leaders of certain third world countries. If I were president, they wouldn't have sat me back there, and our country would be much different than it is right now."
I wonder who Trump thinks Biden should be sitting. Like, first of all, Biden doesn't give a shit. He went out of courtesy, but he's a pretty. If Biden could join the IRA, he'd do it. Second, the Queen's got a big family. I'm wondering who's he supposed to elbow out of the way? Meghan Markle? Like, he's supposed to fucking just be sitting in Lilibet. What is the Queen's granddaughter, the little 3-year-old, who's fourth in the line for the throne?
Yeah,
He's supposed to.
I believe it's Lilibet. Yeah,
be sitting in Lilibet's seat. And just be like, try to make a move. Like, nope, this is not moving. I'm the president of the United States, motherfucker. But like, who cares where you're sitting at the goddamn funeral you don't want to be at anyway? So yeah. He also, This came out this week. Another one of those Trump books came out about Trump, where the reporters saved all the interesting shit for the book instead of telling us when it could have made a difference. But this hit for me. You remember when Trump tried to buy Greenland? He went to buy Greenland. Oh yeah, he wanted to sell Puerto Rico and buy Greenland. So John Kelly. This is from the excerpt from the book. Mr. Kelly often regaled others with stories of Mr. Trump's ignorance about basic historical fact and his inability to absorb information. Yada, yada, yada. But it was his flawed judgment that most rattled Kelly, and he concluded the problem was not Mr. Trump, that Mr. Trump did not know right from wrong, but that, quote, he always does the wrong thing.
That's a pretty great quote.
Yeah, that killed me. And also, Trump didn't want to have a state funeral for John McCain, and Kelly, who's kind of Republican who loved John McCain, said that if you don't support McCain's funeral, when you die, the public will come into your grave and piss on it, which is a fun thing to say to the president of the United States.
Sure is. Yeah, he went in. All right. Well, let's talk about it. Mark, everybody saw it. It happened on Wednesday. Really, the news broke Wednesday night, and then throughout Thursday, everybody was talking about Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis shipping immigrants off to liberal bastions. DeSantis sent 2 planes full to Martha's Vineyard, and Abbott sent some buses to Kamala Harris's house. So,
yeah, I'm glad we're going to talk about it in the Patreon episode on Friday. We take Friday, but we held back, and I'm glad we did, because bunch more stuff came out since then, and more stuff was still happening this afternoon with it. That's truly horrifying and interesting, but also maybe is some signs that some form of justice could be coming for these immigrants. 2 planes paid for by Florida for some reason, under DeSantis, carried 50 migrants from San Antonio, Massachusetts. Now, following along here, neither San Antonio nor Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts are in Florida. So what's Ron DeSantis got to do with it? Well, fuck all, really, but really it's just politics. So what he did was he shipped 50 migrants. They arrived on Wednesday. Nobody knew they were coming, just sort of dropped them off. Local fire chief said the migrants included 7 families with 4 children ranging from 3 to 8 years old. They gave no notice to anyone in Martha's Vineyard or Massachusetts did. These migrants were arriving to anyone's knowledge, although GOP donors were notified beforehand. So they notified GOP donors, but kept authorities in the dark. They were trying to figure out next steps, and the migrants have gotten taken care of in pretty humane fashion, probably much more than they would have gotten in San Antonio. So Ron DeSantis sort of, in the end, did these people a favor, but traumatized them in the meantime, and tried to ruin their lives. And we'll get to that in a little bit. And also Greg Abbott, he sent 2 buses with him. He sent more people, but in a less confusing stunt, considering at least he sent them from his home state to a person he's trying to troll. So he shipped them to Kamala Harris's house. They were out Thursday morning after they left from Del Rio, Texas. Video circulating online from the scene showed the group of young men, women, and children carrying backpacks, pillows, and blankets as they chatted outside Harris's residence with nowhere to go. So they just dropped them off in front of Kamala Harris's house. And it was like, see you later, and pulled out. The bus just peeled out, with cartoon smoke leaving them behind. But yeah, local authorities in the DMV area, which is DC, Maryland, Virginia, provided them with services and made sure they could be temporarily sheltered at a local church. So that's good. But as far as why Martha's Vineyard, because we're going to talk about Martha's Vineyard more today, it just feels vibe like libish.
Yeah, for sure. And also, it's like Obama has got a house there or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Like the Obamas live there, and it's like, it just like coastal elites, Martha's Vineyard, I feel like is just sort of a prototype for that type of thing. And I've never been there, by the way, but I would, I certainly have thought that same thing about that. That was the impression that I had always gotten about it. Yeah. But I don't know.
For the record, the governor of Massachusetts is a Republican, so I'm not sure exactly what they were trying to pull. But we actually do know why they chose Martha's Vineyard, but I'm going to save that for a little bit because it's an important reveal. But anyway, our image, you've been to vacation towns, Trey, right?
Mm-hmm.
You ever notice there's a vast difference between the people that are vacation there and the people that live there?
Oh, yeah, right? Always.
So anyway, Martha's Vineyard isn't quite how you picture it, especially after Labor Day. And I'll let this commentator on Fox News explain this point for me.
this happen, and the people of Martha's Vineyard, who, by the way, aren't the fancy summering folks, it's the real people who live there. The average median income is around $70,000. They're a majority minority enclave, except in the summer when a bunch of rich white people show up and, you know, they ignore Alan Dershowitz. So Martha's Vineyard is
pretty solid burn.
That joke.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, Alan Dershowitz writes op-eds all the time about how he's been ostracized and Martha's Vineyard is no longer invited to speak at the library or go to cocktail parties because he says that it's because he defended Trump on TV and participated in his impeachment defense. But I think also it might have to do with the fact that he's being sued for molesting girls in Jeffrey Epstein's airplane. That also might be part of it. So anyway, so DeSantis's government, the state of Florida, used an outside vendor to fly these planes, operating these planes to fly the migrants to Martha's Vineyard.
Right.
And a reporter noticed that one of the planes used in the Martha's Vineyard stunt was currently scheduled as of yesterday to travel today from San Antonio to Florida to a small airport near Biden's house in Delaware. Now, I haven't seen any news about that actually happening yet, but of course they don't tell anybody when they're doing it, so you wouldn't notice somebody notices like 50 or 100 bored, confused migrants wandering around Delaware.
I haven't, I know that I found this disgusting, as did, everybody on the left and all that, but like, I'm assuming, was this like a huge smash hit on the right, meaning they're going to keep doing it now because they found a really good mechanism for lib owning with this?
Yeah, DeSantis did some sort of campaign event in Kansas the other day and got a standing ovation when he brought this up. And also he's been getting repeated invites from Fox News, which is sort of the whole point of a stunt like this because Fox News love this shit. In fact, talking about why they picked Martha's Vineyard, it was Fox News' idea. Here's Tucker Carlson on July 26th.
July 26th.
Mm-hmm.
Has got to be Martha's Vineyard. It's a natural. Joe Biden took 70% of the vote on that small Massachusetts island. Over the past 4 years, according to FEC data, 92% of all donations from its biggest town, Edgartown, Massachusetts, went to the Democratic Party. So you probably imagine Edgartown is pretty diverse. I mean, the Obamas lived on the island, right? No. In fact, we checked, at last count, Edgartown is 95.7% white. What century is this? As of 2019, only 3% of all people, all residents in Edgartown, were born outside of this country. So do the math. That's 17 people total. That's effectively zero diversity, which means zero strength. They are begging for more diversity. Why not send migrants there in huge numbers? Let's start with 300,000 and move up from there. As the island gets stronger, more.
All right, so this is pretty telling in a lot of ways. So what he's riffing on the idea that diversity is strength and pointing out that Martha's Vineyard, where Obama lives, has no diversity. Therefore, to troll, we should make it stronger by shipping all these immigrants there, right? So, but like, there's also a couple of assumptions there. First of all, no one's shocked that a well-off community is mostly white. I don't think anybody in America has to be like told that. It's like shocking when a well-off area is not mostly white in America. He's also embedded in this. This is going to come up a few times. The idea that they assume everyone else is as racist as they are.
I know.
We're all lying about it.
I know. That's what I was. It's like the subtext is sort of like, it's like, well, how about we just send y'all a bunch of Mexicans and see how much you like it then? Because like the subtext is like, that'll ruin their day if we if we send brown people there. They'll really hate that because how much that sucks, right? It's like it's just the like I said, the subtext of the whole thing is doesn't it suck to have brown people in your community, basically? And
it's not even. We'll get to why it's not even really subtext in a minute because they've done this a bunch of times. But when I say they, I mean conservatives and reactionaries a bunch of times before. But I first want to talk about how like the political press is, as usual, has covered itself in complete glory here by treating this as like they keep using the word stunt, like it's like a harmless prank. There's like 150 people who were kidnapped by using fraud under false pretenses, shipped to a place that wasn't prepared for them, explicitly because it wasn't prepared for them, didn't even leave anybody a heads up to prepare for them, just to make their lives as miserable as fucking possible. And also, Well, yeah, I'll do that in a second. But they also lied to them in a way that could guarantee they got deported. Even though, and I want to make this point here, they use terms for all immigrants like interchangeably, but these were not undocumented immigrants. They're literally documented. They're asylum seekers. They walked up to the border, presumed themselves, and asked for asylum. And then the legal process starts, but they have done nothing illegal. Forgetting to play it, like I don't make that's a legal distinction. It's important for the law in America as it exists, but it doesn't matter to me personally. I also think it should be nice to undocumented immigrants.
Right. Yeah.
I've been broke most of my adult life living in Dallas, go Mavs, and then Los Angeles, which you're going to live in like working class neighborhoods in those towns. You're going to be involved with a lot of immigrants. And I never inquired as to anyone's immigration status because it didn't fucking matter to me. Everyone was nice and got along and chilled and went to work. That's it. Anyway, so talking about the press, here's some headlines for me to read. This is from the New York Times. With faraway migrant drop-offs, GOP governors are doubling down. Is that what they're doing? Okay. DeSantis moved to fly immigrants to Massachusetts stokes confusion, outrage from critics, or just critics, not just fucking human beings who think that children shouldn't be used and have their lives ruined for political games. DeSantis's migrant dump comes with political risks. Yeah, that's the main thing here. That's absolutely the main thing to be focused on. Fuck, we're never getting out of this trap.
I mean, Mark, you were a journalist. Like, what is their rationale for this type of, because you do see this all the time. They're like euphemistic and, it's like they're afraid of, I don't know, rocking the boat or upsetting people or something, or picking fights or something or playing into the liberal media conspiracy stereotype, or I don't know what it is, but why are they like this?
This is a particular like Washington D.C. Acela corridor sort of brainworm where it's like you want to be even-handed. So the Republicans have figured out that if you move far off into lies, they'll try to split the difference, and they'll keep doing it, and they'll keep doing it precisely because it's the right that's trying to get them murdered and yells at them the most. Right? The point is that working the refs fucking works. But yeah, frame this in terms of political horse race is like, have someone else cover this story. Have a health reporter, like an immigration reporter, cover it. Let them, the editors write headlines, but have someone who's familiar with the subject matter write the headline as opposed to someone that covers politics through the lens of what comes on CNN. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I would say that's the main problem here. But as far as what DeSantis did to these immigrants, like I'll let this immigration attorney, her name's Rachel Self. She got down to Boston to help these people faster than anyone, so good for her. But she'll talk about it.
Arrived last night make it clear that they were lied to again and again and fraudulently induced to board.
If it's not playing, Matt.
Arrived last night make it clear that they were lied to again and again and fraudulently induced to board the planes. They were told there was a surprise present for them and that there would be jobs and housing awaiting for them when they arrived. This was obviously a sadistic lie. Not only did those responsible for this stunt know that there was no housing and no employment awaiting the migrants, they also very intentionally chose not to call ahead to any single office authority on Martha's Vineyard so that even the most basic human needs arrangements could be made. Ensuring that no help awaited the migrants at all was the entire point.
Yeah.
They were provided with a cartoonishly...
So yeah, they get this map right here. This is like the map you get at Cracker Barrel of all the different Cracker Barrel locations across America. But this is how they explained to them where they were going. Now, what if they told them? So they said a woman identified herself as Perla. No one's sure who this woman is yet. Law enforcement has said that they think they paid another Venezuelan immigrant to lure these people onto the plane. But what she did was she promised them they would be flown to Boston where they'd get expedited work papers. And she provided them with food. She was still trying to recruit more passengers just hours before the flight. She offered us help that never arrived, this guy named Andre said. Now we are here. We got on the plane with a vision of the future of making it. He went on to explain why he boarded the plane with so little information in hand. Quote, look, when you have no money and someone offers help, well, it means a lot. Yes, he promised these people relief from their pain, and instead they got more of it. And he fucked these people every which way he could. And when I say every way, I mean every way. DeSantis or someone DHS or someone in the DHS working with DeSantis They met the migrants. They were boarding the plane, and they gave them false addresses of homeless shelters from all over the country. We're talking from Tacoma, Washington to Florida, and told them to use them as their contact addresses. So, according to the paper provided to them, the migrants were required to check in with the ICE office nearest to the fake address chosen for them by DHS, or to be permanently removed from the United States. Some were required to check in as early as Monday morning. So they gave these migrants paperwork that says they're from Tacoma, Washington. They have to check in with ICE in Tacoma, Washington, and ship them to Boston with no money, and they have to report by Monday. They're trying to guarantee these people who are fleeing Venezuela would get deported back to Venezuela. And I do want to ask, I want to know if DeSantis knew they were Venezuelans, because like all migrants are not the same to the right wing, right? They usually have a soft spot in their heart for Venezuelans and Cubans. They usually love to take in Venezuelans and Cubans because they're fleeing socialism and communism, right? So they're the good ones. They're coming here for freedom and capitalism. We even have different immigration rules for Cubans. You ever heard of the wet foot, dry foot policy?
No.
Yeah, so basically, Cuban refugees are treated different. If you make it to dry land in Florida, for example, from Cuba, you automatically get to stay. That's why they always try to tackle you in the water. It's a really stupid distinction. But anyway,
well,
it doesn't work that way for any other migrant group.
Well, I think, the joke that I made about it, although in my experience it's not that much of a joke, is that any brown immigrant with a name like Rodriguez or whatever is just, that's a Mexican, to most of them. It's like it's the Mexicans that are coming up there. It's just some kind of Mexican is generally how it works for a lot of them, I think. But also it's like just and I know we're going to talk the cruelty of it all. Like you're saying, it's like they went out of their way to really fuck these people over in the worst possible way. And it's just so wild. I think about this all the time. We've mentioned on the show multiple times. There's this Huffington Post article, the headline of which it was like an op-ed directed at the right. And the title was, I don't know how to explain to you that you should care about other people. Right. And I think about that shit all the fucking time. And this is another good example of it, because it's like, it's one thing to think like, no, listen, we got to have strict immigration policies. We got to, secure the border and keep people out. And you got to draw a line in the sand somewhere. And it's sad, but you can't just let these people in. Like you can think all that politically, but still realize that treating people like this is fucked up, and cheering for it makes you a piece of shit. But they're just like, yeah, rub their fucking faces in it. Make them hurt. It's like the hurting of the right types of people is the whole game for them. It's like, that's it. That's what the carrot is for them, is hurting the right types of people that keeps them going. And that's really, really, really sad and discouraging.
Yes, it is. It really is. But my point with asking if they knew they were Venezuelans is usually this stuff scrambles the political stuff around immigration. For example, Marco Rubio has been advocating for overthrowing Venezuela's socialist regime for his entirety of his political career. And some of that's pretty straightforward. It's because Florida has the most Venezuelan Americans of any U.S. state, 102,000, good for a half percentage point of their entire population. Venezuelans and Cubans, people who all fled left-wing regimes for America's shores, tend to have soft spots in their heart for these people. And I think DeSantis might have royally fucked up, but maybe he gets enough right-wingers to come over to him that he doesn't need Venezuelan or Cuban votes anymore. But
that right there, that's another thing. And I made a video about this last week. It was happening. I said this in the video. It's just like, perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps it's about to be a red tidal wave and it won't work like this, but it just feels to me like continuing to dehumanize and villainize and otherfy and all that shit pretty much every single demographic of American except for one, which is like conservative, Christian, white, middle class people effectively. And I know they have people from other demographics that are Republican, but I'm saying it's like, that's the base. It just feels like that couldn't be a fruit-bearing long-term strategy to me, to continue to just pander to this one little slice of the U.S. population so hard by fucking over everybody else. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's just wild.
I remember
support as they do still, but
after Obama got elected, a conservative guy I knew at the time, we were talking about, he goes like, the only demographics Obama won were women and non-white men. I'm like,
right. That's
so
That's most of the people.
Yes.
Right.
It's like he read that somewhere. I thought it was a good point. It's like that's
Yeah.
literally everybody but white men.
Right.
That's everybody but
Yeah.
white men. Anyway, so but they do really like. The thing is, like, I live in Los Angeles, and everything that happens here, like I always get texts from my mom whether I'm dying in a fire or a mudslide or a riot or
Right.
whatever. It's like, no,
Yeah.
it's generally very, very safe and everyone's fine. But people really do think cities are fucking terrifying.
Oh,
and
yeah.
right-wing governors, even though they live in cities and have cities in their states, seem to think that under the impression that the city will melt down if 50 immigrants arrive in like New York or Boston. And like in the Martha's Vineyard, migrants were like moved a couple times to services. They have services in place to handle immigration. Most undocumented immigrants don't come over the Mexican border. They come in on planes and overstay student visas and shit. They're all over the country. They're not just at the Mexican border, and everybody else fucking deals with it. But talking before about they assume everyone else is racist as them and are just lying about it. Here's Tucker from after the Martha's Vineyard thing happened, mashed up with the reality on the ground. That's the opposite of what he's predicting. Watch this.
Hear that? Hear that? Illegal immigration is not a burden. It's a gift, Dumbo. So Martha's Vineyard received an enormous gift last night. Think of it like a perpetual Christmas, but noisier. And you can't beat the timing, as Karine Jean-Pierre just reminded us today at the White House. It's Hispanic Heritage Month. Perfect. So roll with it, Martha's Vineyard.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's got a bunch of donated food to help take care of them. Blankets, people signing up for volunteer work.
Yeah, they appear to be rolling with it to me.
Yes, they appear to be doing fine.
Yeah,
but yeah, this right wing thing of assuming everyone is secretly racist as they are, like it happens all the time. And I wasn't familiar with this after this happened, but this is an echo of a racist stunt from exactly 60 years ago when white citizens councils in the South organized reverse freedom rides. What they did was lie to black families, the promise of jobs up north, in particular Hyannis, where then President John F. Kennedy spent summers with his family, and they shipped a bunch of black people to the north being like, ha, you think it's so easy, you deal with them.
right.
And I just want to say, fuck these people, like all around. But at least this was like white citizens councils and not the fucking government, although a lot of them were political officials and shit. But like it wasn't like government money paying for this stuff. It was just racists doing a troll job. This is the governor of fucking Florida. Like this one headline from a newspaper in 1963, which was tweeted out in response to this by John F. Kennedy's presidential library, so they weren't fucking around. But it said, "Negro family on way here," which is a hilarious. Like, read it, extra, read all about it. Negro family on way here. Jesus Christ, this country's fucking embarrassing. So yeah, the general goal here was to embarrass northern liberals and humiliate black people. Southern White Citizens Council started reverse freedom rides, giving black people one-way tickets to northern cities with false promises of jobs, housing, and better lives. This is the exact same fucking play. It's the exact same play, except with Venezuelans. By the way, just
when you're taking your strategic cues from literal segregationists, like the Klan from the 60s, I feel like you might want to reevaluate that. Yeah, it gets worse,
buddy,
doesn't it?
It's even worse. He's not taking the cues just from white citizens councils in the 60s. Are you familiar with the voyage of the St. Louis, Trey? It was a ship of. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just tell us about it. Right. Go ahead.
It's a ship of Jewish people who were put on a boat trying to flee Nazi Germany in 1939. They were turned away from Cuba after being promised they could get off in Cuba, but Cuba's president at the time, who was a right-wing stooge, basically a puppet of their future dictator Batista, turned them all but 22 of them away. Then the U.S. and Canada turned them away, and ended up back in Europe, where they were accepted into other Western European countries besides Germany, but were soon conquered by Germany. And 254 of the 937 passengers were killed in the Holocaust. Now, the reason I bring this up is not just because it's a great national shame for the United States we didn't take these people in, but the goal, one of the goals of this op, besides trying to force Jewish people to leave Germany, was the German Foreign Office and Propaganda Ministry also hoped to exploit the unwillingness of other nations to admit large numbers of Jewish refugees to justify the Nazi regime's anti-Jewish goals and policies, both domestically in Germany and in the world at large. It's the same play. You like these people so much, you fucking take them. Now, I'm glad that Martha's Vineyard didn't fall for the bait the way the Roosevelt administration did in 1939. But yeah, just take the refugees in, man. And also in a weird, gross echo of history, at one point, the Martha's Vineyard migrants were transferred to the exact same Cape Cod military base that housed the Reverse Freedom Riders in 1962. I shit you.
Yeah.
I think we're aware by now that every election we get these migrant caravans, or some sort of equivalent. 2014, it was hysteria around the Ebola outbreak. In 2018, it was a migrant caravan of refugees moving toward the border from Central America. In 2020, it was another migrant caravan. I find this 2018, but media was all caught up covering the migrant caravan. But then when a right-wing terrorist was ginned up by coverage of the migrant caravan, killed 11 people at the Pittsburgh synagogue, and another Trump supporter mailed numerous pipe bombs to prominent liberals, it diverted all the coverage. And Trump complained that his propaganda worked because he said, we did have two maniacs that stopped a momentum that was incredible because for 7 days, no one talked about the elections. He said that in a speech that you guys got too riled up by my bullshit. Let's focus on my bullshit, not actually killing people.
Worst part of those domestic terrorist attacks was that it took attention away from me and my tremendous campaign. Literally exactly what he said. Listen, two things I want to for sure talk about as we're coming up on the edge. And also, Matt, not to put this on you, but if you see any comments about this, whatever, you can just throw them up there as we continue to discuss it. We alluded to it earlier, and I know we've got something on it, but I'm not going to lie. When it first happened and I was looking into it, it didn't register for me at the time that DeSantis took these people out of Texas and sent them up there. I wanted to talk more about that. I know we have a clip of DeSantis explaining it, and then also just the legality of it, where it's is this can this be legal? There's nothing wrong with it, but I wanted to make sure and get to those two things. So
with the law stuff, because the Bexar County Sheriff, a guy by the name of Javier Salazar, Bexar County is where San Antonio is, announced he's opening an investigation today. He's a Dem, by the way. This might be good career stuff. He's been at the department for 23 years. Seems like a fairly straight by the book cop, to the degree of he's got in trouble before for covering up the tasing of an unarmed migrant child for no reason. So he's not all good on immigration issues by any moment. But we don't want to play this video, Matt. We're going too fast. I'll skip down to the highlighted part I want to talk about. As far as what the crimes might be here, you talked about Texas being a part of it. So the financial stuff, right? So as part of this year's budget, the state allocated $12 million to, quote, facilitate the transport of unauthorized aliens out of Florida. Out of Florida is what it's described as. So they paid a private contractor to do this, $650,000, which accounts to $12,300 per migrant. Southwest Airlines ticket out of San Antonio is like $600 last minute. So I don't know what the fuck they're spending $12,000 for per immigrant. There's also immigration law related to that $12 million. It authorized the transportation of, quote, unauthorized aliens. But again, these people were not unauthorized. It's not illegal to migrate to the United States and report to authorities seeking asylum. So that's law number 2 he broke. The third one is the more serious one that probably nobody will have the balls to prosecute or worry about. But it's just human trafficking or kidnapping.
Right.
You can't lure people onto planes with the promise of jobs. That's literally what human traffickers do when they sneak them across the border and send them to work at sweatshops. Right. It's the exact same fucking thing. There's no like if you think you're coming here to work in a cornfield and you end up being working in a brothel or something. This is what cartels do. Right. And DeSantis' spokesman actually said, "Well, actually, this is just what cartels do, and you guys are mad about it now." It's like, cartels do it too, stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Judy Kidder Browning says transporting these folks across state lines is kidnapping, right? Which is what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
It would be if anybody else does it, but that's sort of how it goes sometimes because they're governors. It's cool, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can't trick people into going somewhere under false pretenses through fraud either. That's also kidnapping, especially probably across state lines makes it federal. It would be funny though to see the Bexar County Sheriff try to, extradite the governor of Florida.
Yeah. But Matt, will you find that the clip about DeSantis talking about Texas, about why Texas, please, and pull that up. It's down the outline a little bit more, but yeah, you got it right there.
Yeah,
So
that's the
yes,
one.
you might wonder why the governor of Florida uses Florida taxpayer dollars to fly people from San Antonio to Massachusetts. Well, he was asked that question, and this is his response to it.
This is from today, by the way.
The problem is we're not seeing mass movements of them into Florida. So you end up with a car with maybe two, and if we know that that's illegal and there's someone that's kind of smuggling, then committing crime, then you can do arrest. There have been drug seizures, but that's not effective enough to stop the mass migration, but it's just coming in onesie twosies. So we've had people on the border for last summer. We've done a lot of intelligence.
Yeah, that's
and
enough.
everyone
Like
down there.
Basically, he's like, well, we don't have enough of them here, see? So we had to go to Texas to stop this horrific problem that is the scourge of our state. We had to go 4 states over because otherwise we wouldn't be able to find enough to even send up there.
We have a huge problem with too many immigrants, but I can't find any, so we went to Texas.
Right, so we went to Texas where they're all at. Yeah, it's just it's such transparently bullshit, because also just that, like, 50 people, like, that's not enough people to actually spending fucking $1 million or whatever for 50 people. That's not going to address any kind of actual problem. All it's going to do is ruin 50 people's lives, at least temporarily, and make headlines. And no one else can argue. That's objectively true. That's not going to have any real impact on any of the different stakeholders involved, other than the people to whom this was done.
And if your problem is, like, you're unable to care for all these migrants, you had $12 million that you spent $600,000 of to fly them to just on gas money to get them to Massachusetts.
Right.
The whole thing's fucking stupid. So another thing that happened today was 3 of the migrants that flew to Martha's Vineyard filed some federal lawsuit against the governor of Florida and a bunch of other officials. So that's cool. It's funny to remember that a lot of the wealthy white people that live on Martha's Vineyard are very ambitious, career-minded lawyers.
Right.
So I just want to say, smart move, DeSantis, fucking idiot.
Jasmine Parker on YouTube says, was anyone else surprised by how high and nasal his voice was the first time they heard it? Yeah, I do kind of feel like his voice doesn't match his thing. Jeff, this made me laugh. Jeff Curry on YouTube says, can you imagine the chaos of threesies and foursies? That's a good line, Jeff. You got me with that one. Yeah. It's just onesies and twosies, so can't have it graduating to threesies and foursies.
Going back to DeSantis' voice, like we talked about before, about he has the policies, but he doesn't have the mojo. Like, he's like, part of Trump's like appeal is that he says all the mean shit, but he also seems like he's kidding, right?
Yeah.
DeSantis does not seem like he's kidding. He's no fun. He's not fun to watch on camera. He's not fun to watch on TV. He doesn't seem pleasant. So he's not going to be fucking president. I will bet $50 on it right now. And he's doing all this misery for nothing.
Well, I'm not going to take that bet because I don't want to have money in that particular game. But I hope you're right. I don't know. He seems to be crushing it for them. It feels to me like, although obviously I'm not a fan. I know, like you talking about him being, his charisma or whatever. He does like fire and brimstone speeches talking about the armor of God and all that type of like really fucking gnarly shit for somebody like me. So I definitely don't want that near the White House for sure. Not to mention literally everything else about him too.
He's been giving speeches where he quotes Bible verses but replaces the devil with the left.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Which again, I always make us sound cooler than we are, dude. I'd love to fucking party with the devil. There's always way more like drugs and devilry and gay sex and all that stuff going on the left in their minds than there are right here. Like and subscribe, everybody. Share, tell your friends, leave a 5-star review, all that stuff. Appreciate it. Thank you, Matt, saving me from myself once again. Also, I don't want to speak for everybody on the list. Some of y'all may be having all kinds of gay sex devil parties. I don't know. Just, I've been missing out, but that's okay. Yeah, go to TreyCrowder.com, get tickets, come see me. Always touring, always adding new dates. Also, you can support the show on Patreon, weeklyskews.com/more, or just look me up on Patreon, get some bonus episodes, support the show, all that good stuff. We sure do and would appreciate it, just as we appreciate you being here every Tuesday. And we'll be back in 7 days. So you love you.